what a gift. What a gift to the community that is. And that's something we're going to try and expand and emulate elsewhere in the park. A couple other examples I wanted to give you this evening. Tourism in Christie Field. We had in Christie Field, which was sort of the shoreline of the Presidio along the bay. Some of you are familiar with it. It was really it was an old airfield, and it was paved tarmac. And even though it had a great view of the bridge, it was not very inspiring and not very welcome. Big chain link fence blocking off most of it. And there was some sailboarding going on, windsurfing, but other than that, not much activity occurred there. Through the Conservancy's leadership and generous donations from the Haas family and some federal support, the area was transformed, and it's now a grassy field and trails, and the Christie Center is adjacent to it, and you know, it's a whole new industry that's sprung up there. It's become really the front door, the front yard of the park. And when people ask me about my job, they say, "How's the Presidio going?" They think of that as the park, and because it is such an iconic location. We've had several new bicycle companies spring up that have that rent bikes that traverse the Christie Field. They go to the Golden Gate Bridge and then sometimes on to Fort Baker and Sausalito. We estimate about 6,000 people a day bike through Christie Field that formerly weren't even visiting the park. Those companies now are so successful that they're beginning to donate back to the park to see how they can enhance critical trail links, make them safer, and get to different parts of the park. Alcatraz opened to the public in 1972. The Park Service original idea was they were not sure what to do with it. That's where I began my career. The plan was to close it in 5 years, assuming there'd be lack of interest. The early stats, you know, were pretty slim, but by 1980 we had 400,000 visitors a year, and then now we have 1.4 million a year. And we could have more if we were able to figure out a way to manage the crowds. The number one question at the Visitor and Convention Bureau after the bathroom question is, how do I get to Alcatraz? In 1980, the stay was 1 hour and 20 minutes, and now because of the flexible nature of the audio tour and opening new areas through reinvestment there to make them safe, the average stay is 3 hours. It's a huge tourism draw for the city and the Fisherman's Wharf area. The 2011 will be hosting the tourism powwow, and the first evening will be on Alcatraz Island with 4,000 people there, tourism professionals visiting the island and getting inspired and kicking off their conference for the week. The Park Service has invested about $4 million in the island in the last few years, and there'll be some significant more investment coming in the coming years as we preserve the National Historic Landmark that it is. Just briefly, tourism in Land's End, the Cliff House area, if you're familiar with the geography of San Francisco, this was an area that was not, it was somewhat forgotten in many ways, even though it had spectacular views of the Pacific Ocean. We decided that the Cliff House needed to have a facelift, and we had some, it's a concession of ours, and we had the financial ability to do that in partnership with the operator. But we wanted to do more than just the building facility. So we worked with the tourism individuals and organizations and came up with a good design of what was needed out there, what would work. So that went into the planning as far as bus parking size and drop-offs, what would go into the Cliff House, the level of service. And after raising about $3 million, the Conservancy augmented the actual building itself with a whole new upgrade to the adjacent trail system and forest, so that you have a spectacular view of Pacific, new trails, and this will be augmented in the near future, we believe, with a warming type of facility, which some of you may know at Christie Field. It's a combination of a fairly modest in size, but it's a combination of information center, cafe, and sales outlet, if you will. And what the Conservancy has found is that all three ingredients are critical to bringing a good number of folks in the door. Some people are not interested in going to a visitor center, quite honestly, but if you combine all three of those things, it seems to work well. We plan to do a trail as well, an upgrade on the coastal trail from Golden Gate Bridge to the Cliff House, so that'll be a major project in the coming years. Kind of looking forward, I would say we have a major project on tap with economic recovery funds to put a solar energy array on Alcatraz Island to make the island more self-sufficient. Trails Forever has been a major initiative of the park, and it's been a program that basically builds a sustainable trail system by raising revenues and hopefully sustainable, maintenance fund to keep them going. But when you think about how you reach out to a constituency, trails, we were surprised, but trails sort of really touched a lot of notes for many people. Some people saw it as a vehicle to get into areas that they hadn't gotten into before, whether it be exercise or just bird watching or anything. But we really noticed that Trails Forever as a theme, which we sort of took from Acadia's effort, really reached a broad spectrum of folks. It really is constituency building, and it really is like a bridge. The Marin Heavens will be going under a major road system overhaul in the next few years. But with that, we've incorporated a bike lane on the roads, the new road system, and a hiking trail. So the old Army roads that formerly, that we've basically been repaving over the years and enhancing, will now be upgraded in a parkway. Looking to the south, our new challenge in the coming years will be the south area of the park, San Mateo County, which we're slated to receive a 4,000-acre addition to the park this summer, and that will bring us into a whole new neighborhood and constituency that we're going to be working with. Some of the challenges we have, I mentioned sustainability a little bit. We have about 300 miles of trail, but we have one permanent trail crew employed. We have a significant trail crew, but they're all temporary employees because of the way the funding arrives. But obviously we need to make more of a commitment and investment in that. That's one of the challenges we have going forward. Obviously trails are important and the public loves them, but it's going to be something we really need to focus on is that sustainability. Getting back to relevancy for a moment, how does all this apply to you? Again, we're blessed in the Bay Area with some of the ingredients we have. How does this translate to you? Can these ideas be adapted in your home park, in your community? We think they can. Some of you are already doing that. We didn't invent some of these things. I mentioned Acadia came up with Trails Forever. We also came up with some great ideas from the national, the Parks Conservancy in Central Park in New York City, and even some ideas from abroad in England and Australia. You can start small. We certainly did. Greg took the leap of faith when he left his federal job, much to his father's chagrin, back in 1984, I think it was, and took a flyer and decided to form this nonprofit organization that's now become a huge organization that's given over $135 million to the park. But you can start small, as I say. You don't need the Golden Gate Bridge. We don't own that bridge. You need your own bridge. So you can build that, even a footbridge is a start. And I think you'll find if you build that bridge, there'll be people that will come from both sides to work with you and help you in your efforts. So with that, I will turn it over to Greg, and then I think we can answer some questions together at the end. Greg, as I mentioned, is amazing guy. He's been at the helm since the beginning here for over 20 years at the Conservancy, and we're so glad to have him. He comes again from a Park Service background, which is a bit unusual, so he has that understanding of our bureaucracy and the frustrations that come with it at times. Maybe that's why he's hired his own people. But it's an amazing partnership, and it's working for us, and I think a lot of it has to do with the institutions that Greg has set up, but also I think a lot of it speaks to Greg's character. So Greg, come on up.